pretty interesting day in the news. There are federal MPs that have gone down to the encampments, the Palestinian encampments in Toronto, that are calling for an end to it because it's anti-Semitic. You have an update with the international students that are protesting the permanent residency, loophole or whatever that isn't working in their favor. They're trying to get permanent residency. It's not working. You also have Russell Brand in the news, who's talking about Justin Trudeau, obviously not in a good light. And then you have an update in the polls, which is surprisingly showing in favor of Justin Trudeau in younger people. So there's a lot of stuff to cover, folks. I highly recommend you stick around for the full thing. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you guys to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel, as well as just a reminder that I have another channel that covers a whole bunch of other stories that I just can't fit into a 20 or 30 minute long video on this channel. It is called Mr. Sunshine Extra. I'll link it down in the description or the pinned comment below. I highly recommend you guys go there and check it out. Without further ado, let's get into this. So you have an article here that's saying that CSIS, or that's our Canadian FBI, right, our National Intelligence Group, they suggest that those who oppose gender ideology are a violent threat to Canada. CSIS suggested that Canadians having issues with the gender ideology are driven by beliefs stemming from misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, religious interpretations, conspiracy theories, or are generalized fear and are scared of change. Let's take a look at the comments here, because this is obviously having tremendous amount of backlash. If you don't believe in the law, you are a threat. Compliance through fear and force. Deny reality and they control you forever. These people are insane. I never knew I was some form of terrorist. Thanks, CSIS, for confirming it. I mean, this is just getting out of hand here. If you think that men and women are the only genders, then apparently you're a threat to Canada and our national security. I don't understand that. By that literal definition, you should go out and arrest all doctors. I don't know, and everyone who's written laws in our country and all scientists. Like I'm not fully comprehending the attack on gender, but that's the West, everybody. Yay, we're so lucky to live here. Speaking of living here, you have independent MP Kevin Vong, who's in the news, saying hate and violence in Toronto is a problem for all Torontonians. Our city leaders have a moral duty to speak up, take action, and do everything we can to fight for a city free from hate. Let's take a look at his video here.
Not only will the Jewish community here, allies are here too, and I am here to stand with the family. And I'm sorry that your MP isn't here.
Yeah, where's Yara?
I'm sorry, but I'm here because I want your community to know that there are allies who stand with you. There are Toronto MPs who do stand with you, and while yours may not, I do.
That's a big turnout.
And that's all I want to say. And I'm here to support the family. I'm here to support you. And if there's anything I can do, whether or not it's my riding, whether or not it's my community, it's my city. And when one of us is attacked, all of us are attacked.
So this is obviously coming in light of all of the Palestinian encampments and the anti-Semitism, or whatever you want to call it, the hatred towards the Jewish community. And now we're going to take a look at a couple liberal MPs here. On Thursday, Marco Mendicino and I visited the encampment at UBC and saw signs glorifying violence and terrorist organizations. We are a country of law. The law protects all of us. They need to be applied. Anthony Housefather, I believe he's either said that he's going to resign and step out of being, like, not run for a re-election. He's going to step back because of how toxic everything has become. Like, he's a Jewish MP and he's not getting the support from his own party for, protection or disavowing these protests that are attacking, local Jews. I guess that's the only way of putting that. Let's take a look at the video here.
Anthony Housefather here, MP from Montreal, with my friend and colleague Marco Mendicino, MP for Toronto. We're here at UBC campus at an encampment that's taken up most of this field set up by Charlotte Cates from Samadoun. She was arrested for hate speech at the art gallery. Her organization is affiliated with the PFLP, which is a recognized terrorist group in Canada. And we're walking around and we're seeing signs like this one, Right to Resist, with a woman with a gun, other signs with people with hand grenades, and signs glorifying the Al-Quds Brigade, which is another terrorist organization. Marco, this is pretty shocking.
Shocking, and I would say completely inconsistent with any lawful protest. When you hear people shouting epithets like "Long live October 7th," which represented the worst single day of casualties to the Jewish people since the Holocaust, when you hear people say things like "all the Zionists are racists," "all the Zionists are terrorists," it is not only shocking, in my view, it is unlawful. And this is exactly what we heard last week from a number of Jewish students who came before the Justice Committee to advance the anti-Semitism study that, Anthony, you brought forward and that I fully support. And by being here at UBC and seeing this encampment, it is corroborating the horrifying stories of the way in which Jewish students have been intimidated, harassed, have been assaulted. There was a student who was assaulted at Fredericton just in the last couple of days. We need to push back against that. We need to fight against that. We need to push back against anti-Semitism, and that is exactly what we're going to do.
And today we're meeting students from SFU, UBC, Emily Carr, and universities from across British Columbia to talk to them about their experiences. And we're going to continue that study at the Justice Committee starting next week.
Wow. So what you're seeing right now, and I'm sorry that was difficult to hear. It was quite quiet. They're not very good at making videos, apparently. What you're seeing right now is you have Liberal MPs that are being a little bit red-pilled. They're waking up to what is going on. And I mean, you're getting that confirmation bias right here in the comments. Well, you know what to do. Part of this problem falls on the heads of the Liberals, right? Their policies, the type of people that they have let in, the immigration policies, pushing multiculturalism and kind of just eradicating Canadian culture, getting rid of that. That doesn't mean white people, but the Liberals and the NDP have made white people bad, and they're kind of getting rid of our own culture. Our culture has been, and it will probably continue to be, multiculturalism. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm still processing everything that's going on. But what we can pretty much all agree on is there's something that's a little bit wrong. A little bit of a lot of what's going on is wrong. And that falls on the heads. That responsibility needs to be, Liberals and NDPs need to take accountability for that. And also, why are they still allowing these encampments and protests? I'm not going to get into the who started the war, when, and all this and that. Look, calling for glorifying what happened on October 7th is pretty wrong. It's pretty wrong. And look, there's some crazy shit that's happening from both sides, from the countries, and we're not going to get into that stuff, like I said. But we are going to move on into something a little bit different. These are the migrants, or the international students in PI, that are demanding fairness from a government after coming to Canada on a temporary work permit. This is from Rebel News here. Let's take a look at the video.
Hi there, my name is Mohit. We are here together protesting in regards to the unfair decision taken by government for immigrants who are suffering due to those unfair decisions. We are protesting for the fair rights. We demand fairness in decision making by government. So that's why we are protesting, and we will be waiting for the fair decision. Till then, we will be protesting like this.
What exactly are your demands?
We are demanding for fair PNP draws. PNP means provincial nominee programs, which help immigrants for the pathways to permanent residency. Government here changed the rules which affected a lot of immigrants, leaving them with little to no work permits and with no options, no pathways for permanent residency, specifically in sales and services sector. And we are demanding those rules to be revoked, and a fair decision need to be made to them.
What would you say to people who say that you came here on a temporary visa, then there's no guarantee to stay? What would you have to say to people who claim that? Well,
we do agree with that, but a false promise was given by the government saying that you can come here and work here for a specific time period. I can give you an example. A person who is working under a critical worker class, he or she needs a work experience of up to 6 months, and then they are eligible for applying to a PR pathway. But what happened is they started working there, gaining their experience. In between the gaining a time period of experience, government changed the rule overnight. That overnight change of rule was not a good thing for immigrants.
All right.
Yeah, so if that's the case, if they were rug pulled essentially from the government, then I mean that inherently seems like it's wrong. But if the contract is expired, the contract is expired. But there's some shady shit going on within our government. I think we can all agree on that. Let's take a look at a bit of a funny clip here from Harrison Faulkner, who works for True North, who's talking to an old liberal woman or a liberal person. We're not going to assume gender here. It's kind of funny.
If their skills are in the service industry, and the province has said that they don't have any more space for service workers, what would you say to that? What would you say to the fact that maybe the province says we don't have any space for more of these people?
These people? Would you care to clarify what you mean by
well,
these
the protesters.
People? Okay, because you might want to watch your language a little bit too.
Did I say something wrong?
Yes, those people is not appropriate.
Okay.
They're protesting. They have the right to do that.
She just did it herself. They are protesting. They have the right to do that. Those people, it's the same thing. It's so hypocritical. Leave it to a old white liberal to just screw things up for people. It's wild. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments about that clip. Next up, we have Russell Brand, who's got some things to say about Justin Trudeau. Here we go.
Note how often dissenters are smeared. Notice how often dissidents are shut down. Notice the increasing encroachment of state authority and the normalization of incarceration outside of penal institutions. We're going to have to lock you in your homes because it's too hot, too cold, too much cough, danger cough, too much trucker. I saw a Houthi. He was about yay high. That son of a bitch, get in your homes. A Houthi. When you were a boy on Facebook, you said the word. You better get in your house, you wording son of a bitch, you. You're no better than a trucker. I'll freeze your bank account so hard. I'll tag your anklet so good. I will Trudeau you till you wish you was in Cuba, baby. If a judge believes there are reasonable grounds to fear a future hate crime, look at how vague their language is. Reasonable grounds to fear a future hate crime. Do you ever experience fear? I'm going to level you. I experience fear because I've now, as a result of some of the work we do, actually experienced the astonishing and devastating power of the state, in particular when they work with corporations, in particular when they work with NGOs and peculiar, shady online surveillance firms, often funded by the government and big pharma, that observe your online content, that compile your data, that find ways to shadow ban you using AI. I know fear. Fear. Reasonable grounds to fear a future hate crime is not a basis for legislation. This is the legitimization of further centralized authority. Whether you are a conservative, a libertarian, a person of the right, a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, an atheist, a transsexual, bisexual, non-binary person, I can't tell you how irrelevant all of that stuff is.
Like, imagine something happens to you, right? You get cut off in traffic and you get so angry, and all these camera systems pick up the heat waves of your body or something, and you get arrested because you get angry because you thought maybe I'm going to cut that person off, and you never would, right? Maybe you're going to road rage, and you never would, but you get arrested from an artificial intelligence that comes to the assumption that you may commit some form of crime or that you're thinking a negative thought, and so you will be punished. I mean, if that's the case, then that might actually work in our favor, because what we see as the most aggressive demographic is usually liberals. They get so angry, right, at protests. They can't contain their emotions. It's almost like their 8-year-old child, right, or a 6-year-old child that doesn't know how to handle their emotions, and they throw these tantrums. That's kind of the liberal way. So it might actually, reverse Uno card on themselves and he'll just throw them all in jail. But that's just wishful thinking. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you want to see the rest of that full video, go check out Russell Brand's breakdown on his channel. It's about the new law bill, C-63, I believe. Now we're going to take a look at this mainstream media clip here of an update in the polls. That's Abacus polling that's saying that Trudeau is doing a good job, actually, of getting together some votes and some support from like 18 to 22 or 25-year-olds. Pretty wild. Let's take a look.
Parties that are ahead of him, but new polling numbers are showing there could be a shift in one key demographic: youth. Let's have a look at this Abacus data poll. It shows a change over the last 2 weeks, with the Liberals gaining 12 percentage points among the 18 to 29-year-olds. The Conservatives dropped by 10 points, according to the numbers, and that puts the two parties in a nearly dead heat with that cohort of voters. So is this a trend? Or is this poll just an outlier? Let's bring in the front bench. Carleen Verheyen is the former chief of staff to the late Liberal cabinet minister Jim Carr. She's an associate vice president with...
So this is something that we do have to be a little bit concerned about. All of the false promises from the government, from Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, of they're going to help you get a house, they're going to help bring down rates or make things affordable, they're going to tax the big, bad, rich people in this country, and they're going to give you, the younglings, the hatchlings, some more money. That stuff doesn't actually work, nor could it ever actually work, even if it was done by a different party. It's just not possible. It doesn't make sense. And this has been broken down by experts in their respective fields. And so I could see how these lies would continue the indoctrination and the grooming process for younger voters. And it's something that we have to be a little bit cognizant about, and it just help educate that younger generation that's now able to vote, that's coming out of school or fresh out of school. The real world hasn't really hit them yet. They're still sheltered, right, by mommy and daddy government. And they're not realizing the truth that the government ain't there to help you, sweetheart. Let's take a look at the breakdown here, the front bench.
About what the Liberals are doing right and maybe what the Conservatives are doing wrong.
Well, when the Liberals set out to announce this policy, this is the exact demographic that they were going after. And they made no secret of that on budget day. This was their big piece. And they were very clearly making that appeal to millennials and to Gen Z voters. So I think that they're probably very happy today because they're seeing signals that that is starting to work. They indicated that they had done a lot of research of their own before crafting the budget and saw that young people in particular were really over-indexing on wanting to see tax increases on the richest people. So it's not totally a surprise to see that they're making some moves, but nonetheless, for a government that's been struggling in the polls as much as it has, it's certainly welcome. It's obviously just one poll, but David Coletto, who conducted the research, did say, you know, it isn't something you can just discount because the increase is so statistically significant. So I think we'll have to watch what happens in the next few months as we get into the summer, but certainly welcome news for the Liberals.
Yeah, and picking up on that, Melanie, so is it an outlier, or should Pierre Poilievre be concerned at all?
What I find most interesting about this...
Sorry, just start over, Melanie. You were muted for a second there.
Okay. So what I find the most interesting about this poll is that the demographic of 30 to 44-year-olds actually goes up for the Conservatives by almost the same margin. So it's almost as if they're switching. Yes, they've gone. The Liberals are seeing a bit of a bump with younger voters, with the 18 to 30 demographic. But the 30 to 44 demographic, it has swung more significantly towards the Conservatives. And really, like that's the demographic that are trying to buy houses right now, that are struggling with mortgage interest rates being higher and not coming down like everyone's been saying that they were hoping they'd come down. So it's interesting to see this is really more of a swap. And then the other thing I find fascinating is the NDP are completely flat. There's been no change. You see a shift in the youth vote intention, but not to the NDP. And that should be a warning sign to the NDP that they need to do something more significant now.
Yeah, and Guratan, your brother, Jagmeet Singh, has long courted that youth vote. But to Melanie's point, they actually dropped, according to this poll, by 1 point. So does that worry the NDP, you think?
I think with respect to the NDP perspective, we also have to look at, as a whole, if we look at general NDP trends over the past election cycles, we're still seeing relatively pretty high positioning for the NDP as a whole. In recent polls, put the NDP in striking distance of the Liberals. We have this pretty marginal drop of 1 point. So I think what's more important is that when we see those victories coming forward very shortly around access to pharmacare, access to birth control, universal access to diabetes medication and devices, when you start seeing these roll out more significantly and actually people getting to access them, along with dental care, I think that's when you'll see further and further bumps. The NDP has been pushing the Liberals to put forth a lot of the policies that are making them attractive right now to this younger demographic. It wouldn't have been possible but for the NDP pushing the Liberals and dragging them along the way. So I think once that narrative gets out there further, people will start, this younger demographic will realize the value of the NDP and how the factors that are making the Liberals more palatable are actually because the NDP pushed them to that place.
Yeah, and speaking of policy, Rachel, I mean, is it because the Trudeau Liberals are coming out with so much policy and, in a sense, challenging Poilievre's Conservatives to match them on that? I mean, there's been a number of questions over the last week. What will Poilievre's government, or what would Poilievre do on capital gains? What about the hybrid work, and also the question of their climate plan? So do you think that it's time for Poilievre to put something in the window to swing it back that way?
It might be. I think this is both a combination of the Liberals definitely acting on that budget strategy, doing podcasts, hitting social media with explainers. But I do think it does open up this area where you are seeing the Prime Minister out regularly now talking about what he's going to do on housing affordability, targeting these millennials. And you're not getting the same kind of voice and clips from Poilievre because he is really, over the last number of weeks since the budget, stuck on this. I've probably got it verbatim now. Fix the budget, build the whatever. You know, like, it is very talking point.
Stop
and
the
so
crime,
I do wonder
build the
if
houses.
because millennials this younger generation are tuning in to hear what the government is offering, they would then have open ears to hear what the official opposition is proposing. And in the absence of Poilievre actually putting forward much of substance on this, his housing policy came back, over a year ago?
That's actually somewhat of a decent point and a good pointer for Pierre and the Conservatives. I do think that he's kind of gathered as many, older people that are politically versed, people that pay attention to politics as he possibly can. I think that we've reached the peak, and anything now is just trickling in more support. I do think that it is time for Pierre to start targeting, what he can do for the newer generations, right? The people that can vote, right, when you're fresh out of school, right? The 18 to 29 demographic. Justin Trudeau and the Liberals have been very much going after them, right? I don't know how any older person could possibly vote for Justin Trudeau when he's literally said, I'm coming after your guys' money. You're older. You got some savings. I'm coming after your capital gains, right? So, of course, that's appealing towards younger people that don't have anything. Oh, look, I might get free stuff. Oh, wow. Yay. Thank you, government. So I don't know how Pierre is going to segue into that without having those incentives. It's going to be very interesting to see their strategy. But I'd love to know down in the comments what you guys think about that, because we do know that the newer generations, they seem to get lazier and lazier, and handouts is the new Mr. Beast, right? Double it, give it to the next person type of thing. So looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say down in the comments. That's where we're going to end it, ladies and gentlemen. And I suppose everyone in between. I don't want to be a threat here, according to CSIS. On your way out, I'd like to encourage you guys to smash the like button, subscribe if you have yet already, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.